Well, it's almost noontime. I'm ready to do another show. Just getting my equipment set up and getting used to it. So far my indicator indicates nobody's watching. So I like to have a little person watching so they can tell me how I sound. How's everything look? Annie says it's working fine now. Thank you. Weirdly enough, the watching meter on the top says 0 people can see me. So much for the electronics. Bell Star says I sound good. Well, today's topic is going to be an interesting one. Gotta get used to how to hold stuff here. Behind the Flying Saucer Mystery. Just thought I would share some of my books and other materials. See if I can get this thing. What's weird is when I move to the right, my face moves to the left. So I gotta learn how to hold stuff up. I sound good? Alright, so where to start? I've been collecting material all morning from the plethora of documents and magazines and books that I have in my collection, and I didn't realize it. I have a lot of material on this topic. These are some of the documents. I just everything is backwards. I can't see my full picture. So anyways, it's got to be an inch thick. I'll get it right in a minute. So I think I'll start out with current events. And I can see the comment section today. I learned how to do split screen. And yes, I am looking into Donald Marshall. So I have split screen today, and I can see myself and the volume, and I can see to the right the comment section. So I'm getting my studio in order, getting familiar with the tools. But anyways, as far as aliens and UFOs, I have an interesting recent press release here. Well, I had the whole thing here, but apparently President Donald Trump has recently announced that the USA is going to have a military space program. Trump did not go into details about what military role the so-called Space Force would carry out or who would command it, but he framed space as national security issue, saying he does not want China or Russia and other countries leading us. So something kind of current in that direction is a little alarming. Here I found the first page. Sorry about this. So much for making America great again. We're going to be a great military force, gearing up, arming up to compete with China and Russia, etc. Is this the beginning of a whole new Cold War? So Trump orders establishment of Space Force as the sixth branch of the military. Program has existed since the mid-1990s according to whistleblowers. So you can go look up this document. Again, bear with me, I'm getting used to my system. This was released on June 28th, 2018. Oh my, things are happening. I keep saying that. There is a certain method of delivering new and potentially shocking information to the uninformed public. This method involves making announcements about events as though the subject being discussed is new and in the development phases. The information could be years or even decades old. However, in order to avoid shocking or possibly enraging the public in any way, the news is presented as new and introductory. According to numerous whistleblowers, this is an exact method of revelation used in recent announcements by President Donald Trump. So there are 17 pages to this press release, and lots of whistleblowers and other experts into the affairs of UFOs and aliens, like Corey Goode, David Adar, William Tompkins, Robert Wood, UFOs and Freedom of Information. So it seems like they are trying to get people to believe this situation of UFOs and aliens visiting planet Earth. They want us to believe this is real. Too much of it's conveniently leaked. Pete Patterson, Emery Smith, ongoing developments. The Aurora anti-gravity spacecraft's tandem flight. So that was one document I found, or I had already found. Some of it I've been doing this research for quite a while, and I just had to go through my package of documents and to find the ones that were related to UFOs and aliens. Here's another one that's just almost too bizarre to believe, but it is a common denominator in all the propaganda out there. Welcome to the hybrid children community. I kid you not. Hybrid children. That would be at www.hybridchildrencommunity.com. So I went there and printed out numerous pages. And we're going to take a short look at some of this. Hybrid humans. All right, Hybrid Children Online Play Shop. So they have a Hybrid Children Online Play Shop so hybrid children can play with each other. Get to know other hybrid kids. Here's a couple pictures on this site. Gallery of extraterrestrial and alien races photos. And this other picture was the harmonious Earth, a new fourth density world. So they continue to talk about ascension and all this propaganda we see on internet, TV programming, press releases. Things they want you to believe is the truth. And here's some other pictures of these children. And here's some pictures of apparently the Palladians. I think these are the Palladians. But it says here, pictures and articles about hybrid children that have made contact with their hybrid parents and shared information about what they look like and what they are gifted and interested in. And the one with the Palladians, articles explaining hybrids and ETs, pictures and articles, how hybrid children are created, our ET heritage, our galactic family, other ET races like Bashar's race, the Barnard star system, and how will be there. We will be their ETs and more. A few more pictures. You can go look up this website. Oh, Lily, Shelley's hybrid daughter. Looks like half human and half fish. Lily, look into my eyes. You will see a fertile bloom of the truth. An ecstatic dream that came to be. Can't you see? It is you. Lily first came through me shortly after. Became close friends with Nick, her hybrid father. Together, on the bottom it says the twin dolphin hybrid connection. October 9th, 2015, Bridget Nielsen. This is apparently channeled information. Channeled by Bridget. Big happy birthday to you. Okay, first off, you have so much loving support, as you likely know. There were a lot of beings bidding for the spot. Seriously. But these two were most important for your birthday and present explorations. Can't make this stuff up. You can go look it up. I suggest you have pencil and pen ready. I got a lot of material here. Here's another one, like the Rainbow Coalition, Transgenderism. Rainbow Hybrid Children. If you were wondering what all this stuff's about. Channeled by Bridget Nielsen. Through My Eyes by Wheels. To Mom. Wheels that stand the test of time. Spoke the truth is yours and mine. Just is our message to share. For freedom is... you bear the shackles of illusion, you uncuff, and I reveal. Looks like a Mayan calendar there. Alright, just a little bit more of this document, and we're going to move on to some other documents. I got a stack here. Poncho, Mayan hybrid. Channeled message and painting by Bridget Nielsen. I am honored for you to be reintroduced to your son Poncho. Poncho is his nickname, of course. And for now, this is what he'd like you to call him. He has an incredible sense of humor and is full of life. So the balancing beauties of dark and light. Marion and Romania, October 25th, 2015, channeled by Bridget for Allie, their mother. There's an overall balancing act within your feminine being, representing through them, and they are revealing the beauty of dark and light, conscious and unconscious. When I asked who wants to come through, Romania. Channeled entities, dark and light. Look at that. One of them is kind of bright and the other one's kind of in a cave. Dark and bright. you study this New Age material, you'll see some of the connecting the dots. So just some more pictures and I'm moving on. This one says, Faye, the elemental hybrid girl. Elementals. Apparently elementals are beings that have never been, spiritual beings that have never been human. And elementaries are human beings who have deceased under very terrifying situations, murder, whatever. And they are earthbound and apparently have lost their souls and will not move on to the hereafter. Alright, the Elemental Hybrid Girl channeled by Bridget Nielsen for Tiffany Garcia. So this channeler is channeling these entities for certain peoples. They have this website, hybridchildrencommunity.com. Gaze into the wishing well. I have endless stories to tell. Meet Faye. This little nature spirit hybrid is magically mystical. She would like to communicate with you through reflection. Water is her favorite flowing. Channeled message and painting by Bridget Nielsen. Galactic counterpart. I am a pilot, an engineer, an explorer of the known and unknown, open to those qualities to enable our realities to merge, creating ships in any way you imagine and will shift. So these interdimensional beings, invisible beings, can actually create physical ships in our world. Just saying, reading and thinking. Some more pictures that I'm going to, if you want to go see this material, hybridchildrencommunity.com. But remember, as I always say, you need to use discernment. Like somebody says here, one of my commenters, they can be like Baphomet. The Satanists that run things are trying to program us to accept men dressed as women. I don't know about channeling in the comment section. It could be demons talking to them. So there does seem to be a theme there. So my next document, another interesting one, exclusive TR-3B triangle UFOs seen being driven in military convoy near Area 51. So if you go on MUFON.com, you can see the current sightings today and yesterday. Because it's a holiday week here, I'd be curious to go look that up myself. I haven't done that in the last week. But mysterious triangle UFO filmed at night by car driven in Florida finding UFO. Another story here, it says a trucker claims to have seen the heavily guarded convoy with a triangular shaped craft in tow. At night, just about 100 miles from the top secret U.S. Air Force Base, the TR-3B is alleged by conspiracy theorists to be a secret black project spycraft of the U.S. government that can be flown into space. Well, President Donald Trump, according to that document we just looked at, has publicly announced the creation of a military space force. How long has it been in existence? What do they have? Apparently these craft have been sighted for quite a while. The allegations are these craft are created at top secret military bases like Area 51 in Nevada by reverse engineering alien technology. The man has filed a report about the sighting to the U.S.-based Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, the world's largest organization dedicated to UFO and alien research. Now, unless somebody's really making all this up, a lot of people are citing things every day and reporting them on MUFON and other sites. All right. He said he was driving on Route I-15 between Baker and Prim, California at 11 p.m. Thursday, February 9th, and he had this shocking experience. So I've made a book review on craft like that. If I can find my book here really quick. I have a stack of the books that I've made videos on already. Night Siege, 1983 to 19... I don't know why the camera thing is backwards. I'm holding this to my right and the camera shows it to the left. Over 5,000 sightings. The Hudson Valley UFO sightings. You can go watch my book review, Freemasonry and Satanism, Series 37, The Hudson Valley UFO sightings. And the craft look like the big triangle craft, if there's a picture in here, that you just saw in that. I don't see any pictures. But they describe them as these big triangle. This was over Connecticut and Western Massachusetts, Western New York, 1983, 1984. Apparently people were pulling over on the highway everywhere, all long lines of cars, looking up at the sky. But what do we know? People don't know about this stuff. And there's more. How far back does this stuff go? More documents I have here. James Mosley was an American observer, author, and commentator on the subject of unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Over his nearly 60-year career, he exposed UFO hoaxes, and he engineered hoaxes of his own. He was best known as the publisher of the UFO newsletter Saucer News, and its successor, Saucer Smear, which became the longest continuous published UFO journal in the world. Many in the UFO community considered Mosley to be a skeptic, as Mosley reported over the years he accepted, then rejected a number of explanations for UFOs. According to Jerome Clark, he entertained just about every view it is possible to hold about UFOs, and according to Antonio Hunis, Mosley was critical and sarcastic regarding just about everything, UFOlogy. Jim did not believe a core of the UFO phenomenon was real and truly unexplained after filtering out the hoaxes, conspiracy theories, and misidentifications, just plain nonsense that preserves much of the field. Apparently, he was born a wealthy kid. His mother died in 1950, leaving the 19-year-old James the beneficiary of a large trust fund. Mosley inherited sufficient money to be able to pursue his own interest. He never worked as a conventional career. So it's got a lot of pages here about him and his relationships to famous people in the UFOlogy field, like George Adamski on this document. It was 7 pages, the one I just showed you. This is the Wikipedia. So So apparently, regarding George Adamski, this is interesting, was a teacher of the occult. We keep coming back to this occult thing, this mystery religion. And this Mosley, Jim Mosley, was inherited a vast fortune and was promoting a magazine and magazines being skeptical of the UFOlogy thing back then. But anyways, here's his relation with George Adamski, who was a teacher of the occult, who wrote a book in 1953 entitled Flying Saucers Have Landed, which told the story of his encounter with an extraterrestrial named Orthon. The book made him a celebrity in the flying saucer circles, and it inspired other people who became known as contactees to make similar claims. Adamski started to produce an abundance of apparent evidence, multiple witnesses, physical traces, photographs, and later he took movies of the saucer while he claimed to have an ongoing contact with the visitors from space and share their message of peace and love with the people of Earth. And remember, this was the teacher of the occult. And the occult, of course, is a mystery religion, Kabbalah, sometimes accused of being witchcraft. Remember John Lear and Bob Lazar. I have those books. We will be looking at them. Behind me, these two top shelves. There we go. Got my sign backwards here. This shelf here behind my head and this shelf here all the way across are all UFO books. And I got a stack of them in my desk we're going to look at. So Mosley interviewed Adamski in 1953, and while he found the professor interesting and charismatic, he did not find the evidence convincing. He published several articles critically examining Adamski's stories and photographs in the issues of Saucer News. So this was the Wikipedia article on Jim Mosley. You can get all this material just like I did. And I got the Lost Creek saucer video and the saucer smears, James Mosley dies. I got a lot of pages to the Wikipedia article. And I did pull out some books. We did just talk about Adamski. So I thought I would look at some of my books here. My collection. Oh boy, I gotta get this right. I've got to do it backwards. The Strange People, Powers, Events Behind the Flying Saucer Mystery by the author of Inside Flying Saucers, George Adamski. This amazing book rips the curtain of secrecy from the flying saucer phenomenon. And some of these books, when I bought them, they come in these little plastic bags. I guess they're worth a few bucks. And another one by George Adamski. Flying Saucers Have Landed. Look at the picture there. And apparently some kind of writing they have here on the back of the book. And I did notice when I looked inside to check out the year of this book, 1953. So this information's been going on quite a while. Fascinating. I thought this would be a fun topic to make a show about. So you can go on used book sites and put in UFOs and sometimes pick these books up for just a couple dollars. Here's a cigar type ship that had been photographed. Remember, this book was published in 1953. What is the truth? Another book, Inside the Spaceships. George Adamski. Flying Saucers Have Landed. That's one of his previous books. I like the writings I find in some of these books when I order used books. From Guy and Frank, I guess it's Xmas, Christmas 25, 1956. Isn't that cute? So for Christmas in 1956, somebody got this book. Just see if there's a picture in here we can look at briefly. This book was published in 1955. Some of the chapters are submarine-type spaceship, the mothership releasing scouts, the design of the Saturnian ship scout, the Saturnian mothership. How do they know this? Spaceships near the moon, the Venusian scout, it's been a fascinating investigation. Another topic related to these crazy goings-on in our world, something called the Phoenix 2, or the Montauk Project. Setting up the Phoenix 2. So a lot of these secret programs are called Phoenix. The rising of the Phoenix and bursting into flames is the forerunner of the rebirth of a new Phoenix. Apparently it's a metaphor for a bird that lives a very long time, the rising of the Phoenix. And you see pictures of eagles with their wings spread out. The Phoenix is rising. And for the rebirth of a new Phoenix, the old Phoenix has to burst into flames. And that metaphor is also for the New World Order, globalism. The old world has to rise like the Phoenix and burst into flames. Makes you wonder what's going on with the occult and the mystery religion. Anyways, the Montauk Project is an interesting story if you haven't heard about it. I'm sure a lot of people have, especially if you've been watching my videos. I made quite a few videos on the different books regarding it. But let me read from this one document I found on the internet that you can go look up these keywords and find a plethora of material. This is what you call a sage antenna. During World War II, this was at the end of Long Island, New York, which sticks out over the Atlantic, scanning back and forth over the Atlantic looking for any kind of Nazi ships or submarines or missiles or planes. The sage antenna. But what was remarkable about the sage antenna is the technicians and other people noticed when they turned it on, people acted different. Even animals acted different. There was a small town called Montauk, and apparently when they turned this sage antenna on, out of the woods or everywhere, animals would come running like they were crazy through the streets, according to the stories, and humans would act bizarre. So, and they would get moody, whether good moods or bad moods or frantic or insane. So they started to do some investigations. Somebody wanted to be able to control this. Think about this. With the looming, coming, if it's not already here, 5G cell phone microwave network that'll be all-encompassing with everything that's called smart and more, your automobile, your cell phone, your iPad, even microchipping kids, children right now, and adults. So we're all going to be connected to this computer system, which is going to be founded or created under an artificial intelligence system. It's going to have self-awareness. And it's going to have all of us as its peripheral devices, like your printer or your scanner or connecting to your iPhone, whatever, cameras, microphones. This beast system with all these transmitters and receivers are supposed to be everywhere and can receive and transmit the frequencies that the SAGE antenna did, and probably much more, knowing that it affected animals and people. All right, I'm watching the comments. So anyways, with the cancellation of the Phoenix Project, apparently once Congress of the United States found out what was going on with this kind of technology, they demanded that it cease and desist. They put a stop to it. They stopped the funding for it. You can look this up. The Montauk Project, the Phoenix 2. The people involved were on the horns of a dilemma. They had spent the better part of almost 20 years developing mind control with these frequencies and stealth technologies that Congress didn't want anyone to use. Undeterred, the scientists went to the one organization they knew who would want to engage in further research and development of devices the Phoenix Project had produced. They went to the military. Naturally, the military was very excited about the idea of a weapons system that would allow them to defeat an enemy without even firing a shot. They agreed to continue the project, setting up the Phoenix people in a secluded area where proper experimentation could be conducted. The military also agreed to provide the equipment and personnel the project required in order to operate. One of the primary items of the equipment listed given to the military was a SAGE radar system. It had been discovered that radio signals, 425 to 450 megahertz range, were required to get inside the human consciousness to allow for mind control attempts. The SAGE radar system ran at these frequencies and could be converted into a huge radio sound easily. You can go look up this document. There's a little more I'll read from this document. Better yet, the SAGE radar system was currently obsolete. Thus, the scientists would be able to use one with no detriment to national security. Montauk Air Force Base, located within the confines of Fort Hero on Montauk Point, Long Island, New York, was perfect for the needs of the Phoenix Project scientists. It was fairly isolated, currently mothballed, and was equipped with a SAGE radar system that could be converted to a radio sound with ease. I'm skipping some of this material, not reading it all. Montauk Air Force Base had been closed since 1969 and was no longer receiving any federal funding, so the question of where did the project funding come from arises. The actual circumstances surrounding the financing of the Phoenix 2 project are shrouded in a veil of mystery. Project funding seemed to come from private sources, although some evidence points to the alleged Nazi involvement. Lest we forget, after World War II, all those Nazi scientists who were designing and building rockets and apparently other kinds of craft involved in mind control technologies. They were grabbed and brought to the United States, many of them, in a project called Project Paperclip. Please go look it up. And they moved all that technologies and research to the USA. It continued. The Nazi program continued and continues today. Anyways, in the document here, the involvement came in the form of $10 billion in gold smuggled out of Europe at the end of World War II. So apparently a train carrying the gold was blown up while passing through a tunnel in the Allied-occupied France, killing 51 American soldiers. Even General George Patton, furious that such an act of sabotage could have occurred, was unable to determine how the train had been hit and who made off with the gold. Other evidence states that after the money from the gold was used by the Krupp family, K-R-U-P-P, financially backed the project. The Krupps owned and operated numerous munition factories during World War I and World War II, and I think the Krupps are part of the Illuminati, secret mystery religion, Freemasonic high-level groups. Things that people need to wake up and acknowledge. These organizations do exist, and they have designs for a new age, a new world order, something called globalism, and they are bent on depopulating the planet and enslaving mankind after they can totally install their surveillance system with everybody connected to an artificial intelligence system that is self-aware, making the decisions. So no human will be making the decisions. So there's more to this creation of the Montauk chair. They were doing a lot of experimentations in Montauk at that Fort Hero. Apparently, they could even open up vortexes with these radio waves, just like a tornado, a vortex. And the vortex of electromagnetic energy would open up a time portal, and they were abducting young boys and pushing them through. And some of the young boys would find their way back into the tunnel, and they could interview them to see what they saw. But many of those young boys never made it back through. That's just one thing they were doing. And they were also testing it on the locals in the area and other peoples that they put in this chair that was surrounded by electromagnetic frequencies. And these people would think up things, like even beings, and with the amplification of the radio frequencies around this person, they could manifest these beings. They were weaponizing these insane technologies. Watching my comments here, and somebody saying that the Sage antenna is still there, and she's giving the longitude, latitude. You can look in the comment section. So there was so much going on, and I made numerous book reviews on these topics. Got a couple of the books here. Series 78 in my series, The Philadelphia Experiment. They actually put the like the Sage antenna on this battleship. The USS Eldridge. You can get this book or many others. Just look up Philadelphia Experiment, even if you go on abusebooks.com, abebooks.com. And $3 or $4 maybe you can buy these books or go watch my videos. Series 78. So I think around Series 78, I was running through 7 or 8 different books on these different topics about Project Montauk and the Philadelphia experiment. Here's another one. The Philadelphia experiment, the Montauk Project, an experiment in time. Series 77. That's the big horse they have on display at the Denver airport. They use these symbols everywhere. All right, on to another document. Moving right along here. This is crazy. Why are world leaders visiting Antarctica? Steve Quayle, I mentioned in my video yesterday, has come out with a book that you can order. Why are world leaders visiting Antarctica? During the President Donald Trump election, John Kerry and apparently even Obama and many people, religious leaders, are making pilgrimages to Antarctica. And according to Corey Good and David Wilcock and many others, if you've been listening and learning about this stuff, they have found 3 huge motherships crashed in Antarctica under the ice. And also, apparently, it was all flash frozen. So they even have the beings, non-humans, and the ground and everything else was green vegetation like a tropical forest. Apparently, what they're trying to convince the rest of us of, it all flash froze. In the last few months, the world's political and religious leaders have been making trips to the continent at the bottom of the world, Antarctica. Author of Empire Beneath the Ice. And again, I encourage people to use discernment when you buy these books. Don't buy them and believe them. Believe that they produce the book. Believe that they want you to believe this. But don't believe for a second that it's all true. Steve Quayle says people should take notice. Quayle explains what is really going on down there. Here's the billion-dollar question and probably the trillion-dollar question. Why are the world's religious leaders and the world's most powerful leaders going to Antarctica? I don't think the Russian patriot Krill is going down there to meet penguins. With no disrespect meant, someone or something has summoned the world's leaders. Remember, this was in January 22nd, 2017 press release by Greg Hunter. And then earlier in the 1960s, they were running the Project Montauk program, apparently able to open up portals into another dimension. Quayle also says most people don't understand, and this is crucial. The United States in 1947 sent a war flotilla to the Antarctic under Admiral Byrd that was called Operation High Jump. And one of my commenters says, I like Steve Quayle. And I've always enjoyed Steve Quayle, listening to him on his videos. And I made a video on his other book. If I can see the number. I'll have to get that book out and show it. But I made a couple of videos on Steve Quayle's book about the revelations he has in there. So that's what I'm saying. What do we believe? So they were going down there to Antarctica, Admiral Byrd, to destroy hidden Nazi bases that intelligence agencies provided them the documentation for. It wasn't a small thing. There were 13 ships and 4,700 troops and state-of-the-art U.S. weaponry back then. The bad news is we got our rear ends kicked. Russians were spying on us, and they have a video of our aircraft encountering flying saucers. So what is the truth? And apparently, Richard Byrd, Admiral, his son later on, gave several interviews, and apparently he had joined the military, had a secret security clearance, and he talks about some alien, and there are apparently, according to this research, there are different kinds of aliens. At the particular time in 1947, there were two types of aliens attempting to make deals with the world government or the USA government, however you want to perceive that. Obviously, it's not we, the people's government. We don't have a say-so, and we're being kept out of the loop. Nothing new there. Actually, with the new artificial intelligence system in Jade Helm 15 in 2015, where they were dispersing equipment and troops all over the United States, testing these AI programs to make decisions based on metadata, things you know, a political party you belong to, everything grades you, books you buy, people you talk to, things you say on your phone. All this will indicate whether you get a green dot, a yellow dot, or a red dot on your mailbox or your door, or just on the computer screen to them. Of course, red dot would not be too good for you. Yellow dot, you might go to an internment FEMA camp, and a green dot would say that you are acceptable and you've bought the New Age propaganda, hook, line, and sinker. You have joined the Luciferians. That's my opinion. But anyways, back to this document. Valiant Thor was this particular human-looking being called a Nordic that landed his craft about 17 miles from the Pentagon. Apparently a police cruiser pulled up and said, "Hey, you, what are you doing here?" And of course, Valiant Thor, the Nordic, said, "Take me to your leader." I'm paraphrasing. But he asked to see the president, so the police officer took him over to the Pentagon, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey, I got an alien here for you who landed in a spaceship." I'm giving you the short or version of the story. And apparently the government put this guy up for 3 years, and they were trying to make a deal, but apparently the U.S. government or the Pentagon and the world's government would not make a deal with Valiant Thor. So the story goes. Apparently this is his son, Harley Byrd. I think he was Richard Byrd's son. Grandson, excuse me. Get my facts straight. So I was doing some more research on this. And they had a project called Project Ethereal. Like I said, I've got a stack of documents here. So I guess we'll continue this little program on tomorrow's show at noon. But let's talk about this Project Ethereal. So there's this gentleman named Mead Lanes. Meneotriology on the Ether Ship Mystery. So apparently the ships come out of the ether. I've shown pictures and other press releases where people see up in the sky a vortex, an opening, comes out of nowhere, just appears, and pop, out comes a UFO ship. Or a UFO ship will be flying or fleeing away, and in front of it will open up one of these portals, and it flies into it and it disappears, furthering the theory that these are interdimensional ships And apparently this spiritual realm has superior abilities to manifest realities, like what they were doing at Project Montauk, putting people in the Montauk chair with those radio frequencies and telling those people to think up things and they would manifest them. Thought projection, apparently a very serious topic in the Kabbalah and the Theosophist Society, Rosicrucians, and all these mystery religious schools I keep talking about. And we're going to continue to look at those topics. All right, yeah, I was looking for my book on Mr. Stranges. I'm sure it's on my shelf here. I just couldn't find it this morning. I'm looking at my comments. I'm getting used to doing a live show, and I've learned how to do split screen with my computer so I can see the live streaming software and I can see the comment section. And on the bottom, and I can see the clock. I've got 5 minutes to go. Alright, so the mystery of the flying disc, the ether ship mystery and its solution, the coming of the Guardians, Corinta Corrado sighting, October 1946, Vincent Gaddis, I believe I have material on him. So we're talking about this Valiant Thor Nordic guy trying to alien, landing in a spaceship and being taken to the Pentagon, and apparently met with the president, trying to make a deal with the U.S. government, but they rejected his offers for a deal. Anyway, there's more in this document, the ether I showed you about, so if you have pencil and paper when you watch these videos, take notes and look this stuff up, print it out like I do, and get the full facts. So Gerald Light's Etheric Notes. Gerald Light is another character here we'll be talking about. They live in the sky. Flying saucers. The inner circle. On borderline sciences. Go look up this website. Project Ethereal. There's the link. And this Meade Lane again, there's a reason why I'm talking about all this. Meade Lane was an early researcher in UFOlogy and parapsychology, best known for proposing an early version of the intradimensional hypothesis to explain flying saucer sightings. So they come from another dimension. Ethereal. Now remember the video I made on recently, the 205, 206. I talk about the occult, the Kabbalah, and these interdimensional communications, magic. I think it's all connected. Alright, looking at my comments there. Lane speculated that, rather than representing advanced military and extraterrestrial technology, flying saucers were being piloted by beings from a parallel dimension, which he called Ethera, and their ships, ether ships, were usually invisible but could be seen when their atomic motion became slow enough. He further claims that Etherians could become stranded on the terrestrial plane when their ether ships malfunctioned, and that various governments were aware of these incidents and had investigated them. Furthermore, Lane argued the Etherians and their ether ships inspired much of the Earth's mythology and religion, and that they were truly mortal beings despite having a high level of technological and spiritual advancement. He claimed that their motive in coming to the terrestrial plane of existence was to reveal their accumulated wisdom to humanity. These revelations would be relayed through individuals with sufficiently developed psychic abilities, allowing them to contact the Etherians and communicate with them directly. In particular, he replied extensively on the mediumship of Mark Probert as confirmation of his theories. So he got confirmation of his theories because he had a medium, Mark Probert. A medium, of course, is a channeler, a psychic, communicating with the invisible beings. The materials I've been going over. So apparently, Mead Lane wrote a couple books, and I just ordered UFO Religion, Inside Flying Saucer Cults and Culture today. When I read these documents, I go on A-Books and I can see if I can buy them cheap enough. So I got 3 UFO books today, anywhere from $3 to $5. And 2 of the books that Mead Lane wrote, The Ether Ship Mystery and Its Solution, 1950, and The Coming of the Guardians, San Diego, 1954. And Gerald Light wrote several books. I'll be talking about him. Signs in the Sky, Spirits Speak, The Book of Light, Gerald Light. Just some research I got. Some more evidence here from Borderland Science. Flying saucers at Edwards Air Force Base, 1954. I was trying to find this book today to buy it. It says right here it's for sale for $9.95. But I think I'd like to have my hands on this book. So apparently in 1954, they had recovered a UFO that crashed, and apparently the President of the United States went out there to meet with this alien, which was a gray alien, not like Valiant Thor we just talked about, who landed 13 miles from the Pentagon, who was a human-looking Nordic alien. The other one that President Eisenhower went to meet with was a gray alien, and apparently they did make a deal. They refused to make a deal with the Nordic Valiant Thor, but apparently with the gray alien, they did make a deal, and to exchange some human people, mostly women, for experimentation, for technologies, weaponizing information to the military. They made a deal they could have some humans. And it's in these documents I have here. And I believe I'll start off with that stuff on the material in the next video. I'll close this video with just looking at a couple books. But I made a video on this book a long time ago. The Elende Letters in the Vero edition of The Case for UFOs by Morris Jessup. So Morris Jessup wrote a book, The Case for UFOs. I have that book here. And I made videos on this, three 2-hour videos. The Case for UFOs by Morris Jessup. Published in 1955. So Morris Jessup wrote this book, A Case for UFOs. He was a professor at a university. Smart guy. Apparently, some beings, alien or whatever, took one of those books and made all kinds of ink, pen, and pencil notations in the book. Like you can see here. In other words, they edited his book. And one of these edited things said, "The learned representative was right, save that it was done by many comments in the Great War." So they talk historically about a Great War. So apparently the handwriting in the book identified the beings who marked up one of Jessup's book. They identified them as 3 different entities doing the writing, who marked up his book, The Case for UFOs, and they were correcting some of his theories or facts, and they took a copy of their marked up book of his and sent it to the military, the leader of the Navy or something. And so that general gets that and he goes, "What the heck is this?" So he contacts Morris Jessup, who wrote this book, and he says, "Hey, I need to see you. I got a marked up copy of your book with all these notes and comments in it." So Morris Jessup went to the military base and looked at it all. And apparently it was some kind of entities trying to get the story straight. Here's another one of the comments. "Force extruder experiments in plastic cloth fibers which failed. Then, but later was successful. Boy, my socks were lasting for 3 years or so." Another note on Morris Jessup's book. "Stuff causing explosions was force impacted, material expanding back to natural size, thus explosions where no sound is heard, only seen close by." That's series 82, if you want to go watch 2 or 3 2-hour videos that I made on the details of those books. So tomorrow at noon I'll continue this discussion, starting with that flying saucers crashed craft at the Air Force and the President's visit to that Air Force base and all those facts. I have it here. I'll just show you the cover. It says Eisenhower's 1954 meeting with extraterrestrials, the 15th anniversary of first contact. And I have barely touched on this stack, and I haven't even begun to talk about these. These are magazines, Nexus magazines, and so many other magazines with articles about UFOs, and a whole stack of books here, and all these documents here. We've got a little bit to talk about. So thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting. And thank you commenters for watching my video live and leaving comments. I will read them.